Hi, hello, welcome back. Now in this video you're going to see me make something quite interesting, and that is a wooden flask similar to this one here. This is sort of a prototype, let's say. It was meant for a client as this one that we're going to make in the video, but it didn't make the final cut. There are a few splits that I cannot ignore. So but this was sort of a good, let's say, prototype, because I don't like some of the stuff here. Now, just before I continue on, I want to say a big shout out to Ronald Kanne from Netherlands, if I'm not mistaken. He published a video a while back about making similar flask like this one here. It's a great inspiration, and the client wants something similar to this. The combination will be cherry with the walnut insert here, but what I don't like about this flush sort of insert here is that the walnut and the cherry moves in a different rates. So you may end up, depends on the season of the year, with a slight reach that at least to me it's kind of annoying. It's a wood, it's natural, but nevertheless I want to sort of disguise that. Similar thing you want to do on a boxes where the lid meets the base, to put some sort of a transition, either a V or a bead or something like that. So that's what I'm going to do here as well. The lid here, it's threaded. Now this one is red heart, but on the client piece we're going to make all of it from olive wood. The funnel here is also olive wood, and the inside I'm going to show you the finish that I'll be using and how it repels water. It's not for alcohol, just to be clear. Now at the moment this one doesn't have the feet here. I'm still not sure if I'm going to make the feet or not, and if you wonder about this hole here, I'm going to explain it why it's there a little later. Now this one here is another flask which we can buy here, at least local fairs, county fairs usually sell these quite a lot. It's also turned piece, but it's glued together because inside you can see it's a glass bottle, so you can drink alcohol out of it. Now I would not recommend, if it's only wooden, that you use alcohol, because I believe none of the finishes can withstand standing alcohol in it. So the water is different, but the alcohol not so much. And again, these are mostly decorative. The lid here doesn't have any function, so, and it's quite heavy and bulky, but it's kind of interesting. Again, you can see the feet here, and this is Croatian national emblem, and on this side another little bit of biography. So in our piece that I'm going to turn today, like I said, for the threads, for the lid and for the funnel, I'll be using this nice and dry piece of olive wood. For the insert, I'll be using this lovely, well dry walnut, and the body itself is cherry. So let me just clean everything up here and we'll set off. Okay, so we'll start off like any other cross grain, let's say, bowl work with a screw chuck, 3-in-1 screw chuck from VICMARK. The blank here is roughly a little over 2 inches thick, which is maybe a little too thick at the moment, and its diameter roughly 9 inches or 200 mil. So this will go on a screw chuck, like I said. Just lock the spindle, and off we go. So the shaping is pretty much the same as with the ball blank. I'll be using a spindle gouge just to throw it up. This is 1300 RPM. Get it nice and smooth here. So that's good. Take diameter down. So that's nice and true diameter, and I'll just clean up the far side here, the top. So now that's my blank, and I can spin it a bit faster as well. So that's 1531 RPM. So I'll use a refiner just to clean this up a little bit. The rest is a little bit too low. So the pinky goes up, so I deflect the shavings a little bit. Okay, so that's the first step. And the second step is this will go inside here like so. But for the moment, I want just make the recess. Just take the measurement of the insert a little bit smaller. So that's pretty good. And mark it. Nice and accurate. Now just for the shaping here, roughly ½ inch I go away from the line. That's for this kind of design. And here on the end grain as well, ½ inch. So what that will do is sort of give you a rough guideline. So again, with the spindle gouge, I'll just make almost like a straight line between these two marks. Like so. And now what I want to do is just make another mark, let's say 2-3 mil away, and you don't have to do this, but and now just make a nice subtle curve, blending all this together. So that helps me out at least. And again, this is just a rough shaping at the moment. I will finesse everything after we make the recess and once we make the insert as well. So now what I want to do, I'll just smooth it up a little bit with the refiner. So now we can start with hollowing here, and I'll use a square and scraper just to start out. It's a nice quick way. And now I want to make roughly ½ inch deep rabbet here for the insert. Nice and precise, you don't want to mess this up. And with the skew, I'll try to make this side of the skew, the left edge, nice and perpendicular, or sorry, in line with the lathe axis or the bedways. And just go nicely in. Nice and gently, like so. So that's the rabbet done here, and I'll just go slightly deeper with the square and scraper. Now for the hollowing here, I want to, of course, undercut here quite a bit, so there is more volume inside. Now you can use something like this with this kind of, you can see here, not sure how these are called. I don't use this much. I got this from Crown, but again, I don't use it all that much. I did try it on the other Flask, and not much of a fan. It can get quite grabby on a cross grain work like this. And now let me show you what I actually do like using here. And it's this tool here. It's an old principle. It's a standard scraper with this kind of undercutter profile. You can get these commercially from Crown, I believe. It's a 1/4 inch thick, 25 mil wide, or 1 inch wide. Now what I've done here on the profile, this end here is pretty much blunt, but I did raise the burr slightly, but it's almost like 90 degrees, maybe a few degrees less. Here on the very tip is around, you can see very little angle, and here on the tip it's just regular, almost to 45 degrees. So this works for me at least much better, much more controllable, I would say, or for me at least. Now again, just find what works for you the best and use it. No, it doesn't have to be this tool or any other particular one. So with any of these kind of scrapers, standard scrapers, you want to have that negative 90 degrees. Now I will have to move the camera a little bit so I don't bump into it. So again, have it nicely tilted down. And just take your time. And the best way I found to make that hollow is from both sides. So I'll do as much as I can from this side, and when we flip it around, do the same thing, and we'll use this rabbet here for expansion and holding the blank on the lathe. Okay, so that's from this side. And again, I'll use this rabbet here to expand the jaws, one of the chucks, and we'll see. So that's, you can see how much depth, almost to here. But again, it's much easier to flip this a few times, so you make a little bit more room here for the scraper. Again, refiner. So let's just thin it down a little bit. Again, roughly 6 mil, 1/4 inch. And I'll clean it up with a skew again. Just clean up this face a little bit. There we go. So that's done. Go slightly deeper, and then we'll use a undercutter. Bigger chunks that are inside now. And we'll use the undercutter again from this side, just to widen the hollow on the inside. Again, I can't see what's happening here. I'm sort of watching what's happening over there because I can see where I'm scraping. And I don't want to make this thin or anything like that. So it will be slightly chunkier, hollow vessel, let's say. I'll bring up the rest a little bit. Just before that, just clean up the shavings. So at the moment, it's not that undercut or that deep, let's say. So we are here. So I want to maybe go once that diameter more, let's say up to here. So now I can have a little bit more reach when I have the tool rest almost perpendicular to the way I want to go. Just listen what's happening. Oops. So now that's quite good. Do is just flip it around. And then go one more time from the other side, and maybe I'll need to flip it one more time. Depends on the shape I have inside. Have a buildup of shaving, so clean that up. Don't force. On the inside, it's nice and smooth, or as smooth as it can get from using the scraper on the inside. We are between these two lines here in terms of how deep I've undercut here, so it's quite a big volume if you see here compared to my hand. So I'm pleased with that, and the next task is to just shape this a little bit cleaner, get the edges here, the end grain nice and clean as well. So what I'll do first is, with a 1/2 inch spindle gouge, make nice shear cut. Go nice and slowly. See if that makes it nice and clean. Usually this cherry doesn't want to cut all that easily. This particular spot is ever so slightly punkier, let's say, than the rest of the timber. So everything else is nice and smooth, only this little portion. So let's go one more time. Again, nice and slowly. Slow down your feed rate. Let's see if that little spot is now taken care of. It's nice polish. Yeah, that's quite good. The rest will sand out. So now what I want to do is put roughly ½ inch line, oh sorry, a 6mm line, 1/4 inch on both sides here. Again, these are just rough guidelines, and just give yourself a center line as well, or two. And now just make nice slight dome here. Make the rest parallel. Again, these are just rough guidelines, so it's much easier to get it nice and symmetrical and quick. Okay, that looks quite good. You can see all this powdered shavings that stick to the tool. Again, I'm shear scraping that last cut, trying to get this surface the best that I can, and it's quite good. You can see this area here that likes to tear out. I'll do the same. Nice shear scrape with the spindle gouge. Nice light pressure. You can see how the dust is sticking. I get the shavings here, but I have the dust. That feels quite good. Now, since I've scribed a little center line here, this is how the grain is running, like so, and this is a little bit more uniform color at the top here. The bottom here has that little punctured spot and a little darker patch here. It's wood, again, it's natural, but this sort of looks a little bit better to me as for the top. So again, this is how the grain lines up, and I'll just by eye place a mark here the best way I can to the center. I'll follow this grain line and just poke here with the dividers. That looks, let's see, that looks to be about right between the center. So I have this line, and later I'll just transfer another center line here just for alignment, and you'll see how I drill this. Again, my drill press is not too big, so I can drill this quite accurately, so I'll do it on the lathe. Now I have already fit one plug or one insert here, and you can see that's a really nice fit, nice crunchy fit, and we'll do the same on the other side. So for the moment I'll put the blank directly like this rough circle in the chuck. These are step jaws, and it should hold pretty well. It's a small piece anyway, so just grab it like so. What I want to do is just screw up the face here. Make it nice and clean. Although no one will ever see the inside, but it's good practice. And with the calipers, I'll just measure the opening here on the body. It should be the same as you mark the, or slightly less, oh sorry, bigger. So, but nevertheless, it's good practice to just double check. For making the cuts here, I'll use a 1/2 inch spindle gouge. Now first, make a sort of a big taper. So from the line here, like so. and I can hear some sort of a whipping sound. There is a small split here, and just first see where we are in terms of the fit. So still not fitting into an opening, so I might get away from this split, we'll see. So a little bit more now at the line here, but now reduce the taper. So here at the very close to the jaws, it's much wider than the opening here, or the rim here. So I want to equalize that a little bit. It's still a taper, just not so much severe one. And I still have that split here. And I still don't fit in the opening. So again, take a little bit at the rim. Just make sure it's the other side, not the one that I already fit. That's weird, it's still wide. What I'll do is just put a little chamfer here, so I can put it in slightly. Yeah, it still doesn't want to go. So, okay, I probably will be able to take care of that split. Okay, we are now fitting inside, and I can see from here that I still have roughly 2 mil to sit it all the way, and I will be able to get rid of the split, which is good. So now at the moment fits quite snugly halfway in. So I know it fits in this area here at the opening, at the rim here at the bottom, but I need to slightly reduce the taper here, but still have just a microscopic taper, let's say, if that makes sense. And maybe I'll do a separate video on explaining this a little better, how I do this. So it's a nice snug fit, as you can see, but still I need to take a little bit off so I can bottom it out in that rabbet. That should be okay. So I'm all the way seated. It's nice tight fit at the top, so I'm quite pleased with that, and I can part it off roughly. So with the thin parting tool, this one was a gift from Richard Raffin. It's Chris Stott, super thin parting tool. So just make sure you make enough width so it doesn't bog. There we go. And this is number one. This is number one. and this just goes all the way in. Actually, it would be nice to align the grain right away, so like so. So now that's all the way in. So now this body will act like a jam chuck, and now I can shape this. And again, I don't want to leave it flush because the walnut will move, contract, and expand with the different rates than the cherry. So I'm going to make some sort of a transition, maybe a small V, and then make this maybe a slight, like a button, something like that. Don't want to make too much of a decorations because the wood will speak for itself here. So again, spindle gouge, 12 mil diameter or ½ inch. True it up. Of course, now it's sticking way too high, so at the moment this doesn't look, to me at least, right, so I'll make it flush with the cherry, but I'll make small V groove here just to make a little decoration. So now I'll use a refiner. I have a little better, I think, control. Now go with your hands. So I feel that this area is not all that well regards this one here. So I'll just remove some of this wood here. Now that feels much better. And now just blend. A little hump here. Okay, that feels much better. Again. Okay, that's good. And small spindle gouge when I find it. Here we go. So make a little V groove. Half of it is on the walnut side and half on the cherry. Let's see how that looks. Yeah, that's much cleaner look. I think that's now ready pretty much for sanding. So what I've done, this side is all finished up. The plug or the inlay is glued in. You can see maybe here the traces of glue. I use a white glue and a little bit of a CA glue just to fasten it immediately so I can work on. Now all on this side, all it's left to do is just glue the inlay in, but first I want to drill the hole because it's much easier to clean the shavings once you have one side at least opened. So that's what I'm going to do now. I don't recommend this method. I'll be using a tailstock on this end, drill bit 25mm 1 inch on this side. Again, I don't recommend it. Find another way comfortable for you. This is okay for me, but again, if you're going to do something like this, be aware what you're doing. So just bring it closer. The speed goes down, of course. Now first I'm just going to put it between the centers, mark both ends like so, and just tighten the tailstock and turn on the speed of the lathe and just slowly feed it in. Take your time. Now you can stop here and use the handheld drill to drill the rest, but I'm going to go all the way, coming through an end now. So this is now where I'll stop. I'm almost in, so I'll use a handheld drill now just to poke through so it doesn't spin or anything like that. And hope you can see on this end we are almost perfect and should be in line nicely. So I'll prepare everything, glue this in, not much here that you won't maybe see, but I'll tune you in once I get and everything sorted here, so we'll make a funnel here with the threads. Thicker than I need, which is good, so I have a little bit room for design. 2000 RPM again, speed. So first is to throw it up the end here. Okay, and the next thing is to drill a 20mm hole. That's a little over 3/4 of an inch, I think. And I'll go roughly a little over 1 inch, 30mm, something like that. Again, this is the top, so this is what you're going to see when we open it. And so just to recap the steps. So I have a 20mm hole here. This is roughly 40mm diameter, and I've chamfered the end here so the chaser can travel in nicely. So that's the next step. So the thread chaser that I'll be using is this one, Signature from Mike Mahoney, 16 TPI from Carter & Son. A really nice thread chaser, works lovely, great design. On one tool you have both the female and the male end. And now the speed will be roughly 300, 400 RPM, something in that range. So it's 400 RPM, and I have the tool rest. I want to set it so I'm roughly, if I watch the opening as a clock face, and then roughly at 10 o'clock I like to be. So that should be okay. And first what you do is do the dance a little bit. So go in a circle like so, approaching the wood with each time a little bit closer. That will give you a rhythm. And once you start approaching the wood, just make a spiral first. Once you have the corner and the spiral, it will almost feed itself automatically in. All you have to do is just control it a little bit and make sure that you don't hit a wall or anything, especially when you go deeper in, so you don't bottom out. That will strip your threads. So. And I'm slowly making the thread chaser parallel. Just let it do its thing. And I'll make it longer threads, doesn't really matter. They don't need to be this long, but I'll make it long. So it's also good practice. I haven't thread anything apart from that prototype Flask in a while. Now, as you're coming to an end, you can see that's a lovely thread. As you're coming towards the end, you want to make sure that this side where you're actually scraping the threads is nice and parallel. I don't want to make the threads, the inner threads, going concave. It's conus, we call it conus, in a sort of a taper like that. So just want to make sure that I'm parallel, or as best I can. And I think that's it. That looks quite good. Now, just before I continue on, I'll just use a 320 grit and just push it in ever so slightly, taking off the high spots ever so slightly, and do a little bit of like so. That will help with threading on. Spindle gouge. And this is where your lips will go. And I want to leave a little flat spot here. Now it's too wide, I think, for this body of the flask. So just reduce it a little bit. And this is roughly the other side. Now I need to set the diameter for the opening of the flange, the hole, this part here, so that's 25 mil. So big parting tool. So that fits over. And now again I'll do the other side design. And I want to blend it nicely to the bottom. Okay, so that's clean. This is clean. I think it will be looking okay. And I only sand this upper ring. Give this a little love since since the lips are going here, so you don't want sharp edge here. Again, it's longer than I need, and I have this piece from that prototype, and that will thread on. So that's close enough, so I can just clean this up a little bit cleaner. So now I hope you can see it looks a little bit cleaner. We have the threads only on the top section, and now this will get glued into the base. So it's morning next day, and the funnel had time to dry and everything, so now we'll make the lid here. And you see on this, let's call it prototype, how it looks. And this one is from Red Heart, but I'm going to make this lid for the new Flask from Hollywood as well. This piece here, it's a lovely chunk, and you can see I have a shortened thread, so you don't have to wind this a lot, so it's already closed. Now I don't particularly like this shape, so what I'm probably going to make is the biggest diameter that I have here, and maybe a bead on top like here. So we'll see how it goes, and that's the next task. Now the most important measurement that we want is the size of the male piece. So what I like to do is go on the bottom of the threads. So of course if you go on top of the threads, then you'll have a male piece too small. So that's the inner diameter, the bottom of the threads. So I want to transfer that to a piece of wood first. There we go. Extend it a little bit, and let's do a little bit more. Clean up the shoulder here. And also make a recess here. So this little recess here is when we go with the thread chaser, we have a little exit way before we hit the end grain wall here. And also you can put a rubber washer if you want on the inside here after. So just make sure that this is nice and parallel. It's still maybe too long, so let's shorten it a little bit more. And what I like to do is just put a little decoration here and a little chamfer. Speed goes down again to roughly 400 RPM. 430. Now the male part of the thread chaser, and you can see I'm a little too high, so I'm basically scraping with the heel of the scraper, which is not what you want. So drop the rest down, and I can do a separate video if you want on how to chase threads by hand. It's not something that I do very often, but it's fun. So do a little dance again in a small circles, approaching the wood. that first spiral is the important one. So I have the start of the nice threads, and just when you're deep enough in the wood, I drop it so it's a little bit more parallel to the piece. With every stroke I drop it a little bit. We'll stop here for a second. So that looks quite nice. We have a little discoloration here from the grain, but let's test it out first. So it's a tight fit. So when you have a tight fit like that, what you want to do is not continue on with the chaser, because it's not very good and you'll break off the top of the threads if you continue on going to a smaller diameter. Instead, just scrape away the diameter a little bit with your favorite tool. In this case, this is light peel with a skew. Again, drop the speed down. And do it one more time. It's a really nice chaser. You don't have two tools, you have one. So you don't lose the female or the male part. So that's really nice threads. This olive takes it really nicely. And we can test the fit. Yeah, that's just a little bit too tight at the very end. So what I'll do is just use the thread chaser a few more times, a few more strokes. There we go. And also I'll just slightly chamfer the very beginning. So now this should be hopefully okay, and it is. So that's really nice. The diameter here is roughly the same as the outside of the funnel here, which is okay. So I want to have a flat spot where it meets here with the funnel, the lid, and I can actually mark it a little bit here. So I have some sort of a reference line, and the bead probably will end up somewhere around here. So that's roughly where I'll end up, and well, it won't be much of a full bead, but let's see what I can make from this shape. So I'll stop here and let's roll this side. I'll remove some of this waste here. Okay, that doesn't look too bad. Just double check how it looks. Okay, I like that, and I can go down. You can see a little bit more to the right. It's another mill, let's say. Okay, that looks rather nice. And I think I'll finish it nice and simple on this side. So when you're working on a smaller diameter, drop the rest a little bit more. Just continue on that curve. It's cut cleanly, so it doesn't need much. And here on the end. Okay, so let's talk finish. Now on the outside, what I'll use is probably tung oil or something like that. But on the inside of the flask, this is something that Ronald used, and I've tested out. And this bowl here, I'll get to that in a few seconds. So the finish is propolis polish, let's say. You can get a really nice shine with this stuff. It's pure natural. It's alcohol based. Once it evaporates, of course, it's quite safe, and that's why you don't want to use alcohol in the flask. Now in this bowl, I just tested out a little bit, but I actually thin it down this stuff with tung oil, so it spreads easily, because this stuff dries out really fast. So it's not, I won't say it's the easiest finish to apply. So we can just show you. So that's pretty much one coat of that tung oil and this propolis mixture. And just to show you what's happening with the water and the wood, I hope you can see how the water is just gliding over the surface. It's not sticking or drying in or soaking in the wood. So you can see how it just travels around with a puddle. Would be a good test if we pour into first flask here some water, and by the time I finish with oiling and everything, we'll see how it reacts, if it will drip out or anything like that. So and we'll pour some more, and you can see just barely penetrates the wood, and that's again thinned down version. And now for regular stuff like bowls, plates and stuff like that, you may not want that kind of a protection. I don't think it's necessary, and actually it's a good time to test how much water can fit inside. So this is 1 liter bottle, have a little missing, so we'll see. So again, I don't find that it's necessary, because tung oil is going to protect the wood from the inside. The wood will still absorb some of the water, and that's okay. That's nothing to be afraid of. But when you have stuff like this flask that's going to hold the water, then it will be much better if it's sealed on the inside a little bit, at least. Okay, so that's a little less than a half a liter of water fits inside, so that's quite good. I'll put the lid on, and I'm going to keep it here on the side, and we're going to see how it behaves. So now you can see how the lid fits over. I think it's a better design, and it's much easier to use as well. nice fit, like that sound of the wood on wood threads. And just mix this up and pour it inside a little bit, spread it around, and I might even put the lid on and just, you know, shake it from all sides. So I'll do this probably 3-4 times. And I did not want to do that, to spill it on the outside. The good thing is it does sand out quite easily, so I'll probably have to do that. So I'll put the lid on and give it a good shake. Let's see how much there is actually. So there is not much. And I'll repeat the process a few times in the course of a day. And yeah, so that's the finish. And what I'll do, I'll just quickly plug the hole here, just make a simple plug and drill a hole here, and that will be it. For now I won't make the feet. I'll see with the client if he does one or not. I think it's maybe a cleaner look doing like this, but we'll see. So it's been roughly an hour since we poured the water in this flask, and the only drippage that I can see happen on this side here a little bit. So if I remove the water, maybe we'll see where it occurs. So, and just to show you while that's happening, if it will happen, the other side is nice and dry. Here on the top, the bottom here don't appear to have any leakage or any splits or anything. So the propolis, and that's only one coat on the inside, did a really good job. So I hope after a few coats it should be nice and water repellent, or at least it will hold the water nice and tight. So it was, which was the side here, I have a little ridge, and that also may be why maybe the wood sort of didn't glue here properly. Could be I didn't maybe seat it all the way, but it should be okay. And again, it's an hour, and only that you saw was 2-3 drops of water. So, and the lid will open, of course, and just to show you that there is water inside. Hope you can see without me spilling all over it. A really nice, fun project, and let me show you the new one. So this is the new one that we made, and you can see that punkier, different color spot here, and everything looks super nice. It's oiled, and I've plugged the hole from the bottom, so, and it's slightly proud and domed, so it's nice to feel. And the lid as well, just find the threads. There we go. So that's super nice. So now all it has to do is just put it on a few times so it works through the finish. And again, in course of a few days, I'll pour more propolis inside, shake it, let it cover everything, and I'll apply a little bit more oil on the outside as well. So, and I'm not sure if I mentioned on the outside, what I've done is propolis mixture and the tung oil mixture, so it does wipe away a little bit easier. When it's propolis on itself, it's really you have to work really hard and buff it off, and you get really big shine, which I'm not a big fan of. So yeah, overall really nice project, and I hope you enjoy it as much as I did making it, and see you in the next video.